And I'm going to begin with all due respect to those who are going to be, who are up to, what is it? No, I said that we should get to the calendar very quickly, and therefore, and as soon as we complete the calendar, and I said most of it is a consent calendar, we should be able to get back to you shortly. So I'm not ignoring anyone who was put in this list. Okay, now, I believe, and I'm going to go to the confirmation of the appointment first, because I believe they are here, and I'm going to have to. We have 3 appointments to the taxi limousine board, and I'm going to put call them all together, and I will read them separately, however. And it's item 37, a resolution to confirm the county executive's appointment of Donald Reinsfeld to the taxi and limousine board. According to the Nassau County Charter, Section 203, Article 21B, Section 2160B, the number item 38, which is the confirmation of the appointment of Peter Blasucci to the TLB, again according to the Nassau County Charter, and item 39, which is a confirmation of the appointment of Stephen Berry to the TL board, according to the Nassau County Charter. And a motion, please, for this item. Moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Capel. Are there any questions or comments regarding these? And do we have these individuals here? Yes, sir. You are.
I am Donald Reinsfeld.
Okay, Donald. You want to tell us a little bit about you?
It's an honor and a responsibility to serve the county. I've been a resident of Nassau County since 1977, which is almost 40 years. I've been a business owner since 1995. I've been a property owner since 1998 in the Newcastle area. I've also been on the board of directors of the Newcastle Business Association and the vice president of the Newcastle Business Association since 1998. And I think what I bring is a perspective as both a citizen and a business owner to the Taxi and Limousine Commission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reinsfeld. And?
Stephen Berry. How you doing? Thank you.
Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Lee. How are you? I'm originally from Bolton. I live in Merritt now. I have over 20 years experience in taxi and limousine, and I look forward to helping the commission try to figure out new rules, regulations, and help the industry in general. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And we have Peter.
Hi, Pete Blasucci. I've been in the business for 50 years on Long Island, and I look forward to even the playing field in Nassau County.
And you are from?
Port Washington.
Okay, well, quite a diversity here. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. And any questions of these 3 appointments? You have to know that this is purely volunteer. There's no money involved here. Correct? Am I right? No money. Okay. Any questions of Peter, Stephen, and Donald? None? Okay. Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the appointments are done. Thank you. Congratulations, I think. Okay. And okay, we have one more confirmation, which is item 40, a resolution to confirm the county executive appointment of Gregory W. Coleman Jr. to the Assessment Review Commissioner. Legislator Dunn.
Second.
Seconded by, okay. legislative vote. Okay, and comment, Gregory. I should say Gregory.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer. I want to thank the county executive for his recommendation and for the vote of the county legislature. With the opportunity to serve Nassau County and its residents. I've been a practicing attorney for 23 years. I've been a resident of Nassau County for almost my entire life. Born and raised in Farmingdale, still live in Farmingdale on the Nassau County side. I spent a lot of my time when I'm not practicing law in the special needs community because I have a child who is disabled, and I give a lot of my time voluntarily in that arena. This is just another way with another, I've given my professional life of myself to many different organizations. So the opportunity to serve the residents of Nassau County through this position is really quite an honor and a privilege, and I look to work with all of you in that capacity. Thank you.
Any questions of Gregory? Any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of the confirmation of Gregory comment to the Assessment Review Commission signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
You are confirmed unanimous. Okay. As I said, we're going to proceed as quickly as we can, and usually what enables us to do that is that both minority and majority agree on a number of items, and we call that the consent calendar, and we'll hold those first, and anything that needs deliberation will be called separately. So here we go. And I'm going to call item 1. And by the way, these have all gone through, with the exception of 1 and 2, I believe have gone to, they've all gone to committees, and Frank, as usual, the testimony of the committees incorporated into the calendar. Okay, so here we go. We have item 1. Ordinance 45, item 2, ordinance 46, item 4, ordinance 48, item 5, ordinance 49, item 6, ordinance 50, item 7, ordinance 51, item 8, ordinance 52, item 9, ordinance 53, item 10, ordinance 54, item 11, ordinance 55, item 12, ordinance 56, item 14, ordinance 58, item 15, ordinance 59, item 16, ordinance 60, item 17, ordinance 61, let's see, item 20, resolution 71, item 21, resolution 72, item 22, resolution 73, item 24, resolution 75, item 25, resolution 76, item 26, resolution 77, item 28, resolution 79, item 29, resolution 80, item 31, resolution 82, item 32, resolution 83, item 33, resolution 84, item 34, resolution 85, item 35, resolution 86, item 36, resolution 87, item 41, resolution 92, item 42, resolution 93, item 43, resolution 94, item 44, resolution 95, item 46, resolution 97, item 47, resolution 98, item 48, resolution 99, item 49, resolution 100, item 50, resolution 101, item 51, resolution 102, item 52, resolution 103, item 53, resolution 04, and that ends the consent calendar. Any other questions that you may have? Okay, I'm sorry. Moved by legislator Walker, seconded by legislator Nicolau. Any further questions? Now is the time. If not, any public comment? Tanya is on the items here.
Yes.
No, I'm talking about Tanya. She's coming up.
Okay.
John, you want to get up? John, you want to go ladies
Yes.
first?
Ladies first.
Oh, well, that's all right, John.
I'm such a sexist.
Okay, she was being nice enough to let you go. Go ahead, Tanya.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is regarding ordinance, the
Can you
first
state your
one.
name?
Sure, Tanya Lukasik. I'm the Director of Operations, Tom. Here regarding ordinance number 45-2015. I just have a couple of questions regarding the amendment with the interest of wanting to better understand the process behind the way the Department of Public Works prioritizes its capital budget items and funding. In section 2, it states that each project listed in Appendix B attached has been identified as either a type 1. It's hard to hear. Everybody please be quiet. Type 1 or type 2 activity according to SECRA. My question is, it states that there's a record that's to be listing the determination in a file. Is each legislator here provided one of these copies of every activity in terms of type 1 or type 2 classification when this documentation is provided to you before you make a vote? And if so, what's that form called? SECRA, the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
It is always in the back.
So it says there's an appendix and it lists the type, whether it's type 1 or type 2, but my question is there a document that states how you came to that determination, either a short form or a long form?
That time is up to the Department of Public Works, how they came to that.
Okay, and so that process,
We adopt what they declare.
could you repeat that, I'm sorry?
We adopt what their findings are.
Okay, so I'm just trying to better understand the process. So does the Department of Public Works go through a short form or long form process before they make that determination?
Hold on.
Sure.
Okay, I'm giving you the information I'm receiving.
Sure.
It depends on the type of the item, and it's done by DPW to come up with the recommendation.
Okay, so I just want to understand the
Excuse me, I'm
process.
sorry, and the planning commission.
The
Nassau
planning.
County Planning Commission.
Okay, so depending on the type of activity, but as a legislator, when you're presented this documentation, are you provided any confirmation document beyond just a sheet that says in an appendix, type 1 or type 2, to confirm? You're leaving the responsibility on the Department of Public Works. My question is, are you given a short form or any other type of documentation before you make a vote?
Tanya, the council just said that he can give you a copy of the representative form so that you can see what is submitted to us.
Okay, that would be helpful. I think that the public wants that information
Okay,
too, not just me.
It's also a public time.
And what is that file of record called?
You asked for a secret, did you see for type 1, type 2?
Okay, so
And that's what you would find.
So each activity, just so I'm clear, the Department of Public Works is going through either a short form or a long form?
I just told the planning commission. Nassau County Planning Commission probably would be your best bet too.
Okay, so for like a Department of Public Works activity, like one of the ones that's listed in the appendix,
Tanya, they recommend to DPW and to the administration whether or not, okay, a project should go forward. And I think if you need additional information, you should be contacting the planning commission or DPW.
well, just, I mean, for the sake of, I know looking at APTEC and the skeleton incidents and those kind of things, that the reliance on the Department of Public Works can be sometimes
This has
disconcerting.
nothing to do with it, okay?
I would think that
Everything does not revolve around one particular situation.
Of course, but just
Okay?
I want to
You
better
have to look at
understand,
each of them separately.
I want to better understand as a resident and taxpayer,
Fine.
how
You
this
can get a lot
process
of
is being
it
handled.
from the planning commission, and you can get it from the DPW, and whatever information we have online.
So just so we're clear, just because this is complicated, when you vote on something as a legislative body, in rules or an environmental committee, you are not provided any specific documentation such as a short form or a long form.
Tanya, I told you that, because there's a short and a long, depends on the individual. And I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to tell this for every one of my colleagues, both sides of the aisle. We review every item that comes to us before it comes to the public. And if there are questions that need to be asked, and if they're not answered, guess what? The item doesn't come before us.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand the process, because I'm not privy to that
We
documentation.
do not
either as a
accept
public.
anything blindly.
Okay.
We do ask the appropriate questions, and if they're not forthcoming, guess what? Then we're not voting the item.
Okay, so part of the process is, I'm just trying to understand, because I'm not privy to the documentation that you receive. You are not provided a short or long form for an environmental activity. It's something that the Department of Public Works might
Yes, you
handle.
are, we are, it's part of the backup. However, if you want more information, you go to planning or DPW, that's what I'm saying.
But as a legislator, I'm asking the process on your end. How are you provided for each activity that has a type 1 or type 2
I
classification?
really appreciate your interest. I also appreciate your in-depth consideration of some of these items. But you know what?
Thank
I think that you need to address them to the right departments, and we are answering to the best of our ability.
I can give you
And
a
I said
personal
thank you. I'm
example.
telling you right now, Tanya, I'm telling you right now, I've answered your questions to the best of our ability,
Okay.
and I thank you
And I
very much
think-
for your
I
participation.
want to just give an example of my experience trying to obtain this
I
documentation.
know you very well. I know
very
that
well.
you've been dealing with us for a long, long time. So I know what your experiences are. So if you got another one
No, this is
that we don't
specific
know
things
about,
so that
tell
we're all
us.
clear and on the same page. The way that the environmental determination was made for an activity that involved South Oyster Bay Road was a request to initiate form. It was signed off by a Department of Public Works engineer. There was no short form or long form needed. So I just want to make it clear so that this is the
You are
documentation that I'm
going,
being
you're
provided.
going past the item. All right, and I think your 3 minutes are up.
Yes, the time is expired.
Well, we're back and forth. I mean, this is discourse on an
That's
important
okay, we're
item.
not supposed to have, this is not a debate session.
It's trying to
If you-
understand
no,
the
no, no, no,
process
no.
because it's so
Tanya,
there's such a lack of transparency
You
here.
stop and you listen, okay? I know that you have availed yourself of the services of my council on a number of occasions, and they've given you all the freedom to ask all of your questions and get.
I don't even get emails replied
I'm
back
sorry.
to from the individuals on
sorry,
this
Tanya.
body.
That's it.
So
Time is
my
up.
other issue too, just to put it out here, because this is involving taxpayer funds, is that when these items are listed on the capital budget, like these 2 items that are being amended right now,
You're at 7 minutes.
is there some sort of, this is the last question I'll just ask, and maybe just leave for people to think about.
I'm going to, I have a number of items that I have called, and I'm looking now for a vote. You've had your turn at the mic to discuss whatever you would like to discuss, and then
This has
some.
been extended because instead of you giving me a 2-second
I'm
response,
telling you right now,
you
Tanya,
had
this
to
is not
consult with
a
7
public
different individuals
debate
about a process
session.
that should be organized and
This is,
systematic.
Tanya, the purpose of public participation is for the participants to express their concern, not to
I'm
have a
expressing
public
concern right
debate.
now.
Okay, thank you very much, and I have Mr. Bud.
The last items I'll just leave with
I'm
are
sorry, your
that
time
it's
is up.
important for individuals that are going through these
Time.
contracts to
Be
look at
reasonable.
performance appraisal. That's one thing that's not listed in here, and I think it's important going forward. Thank you.
Mr. Butler, please. Mr. Butler. Okay.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Someone's at the mic, please. Go ahead, Mr. Butler.
Okay. I was not able to detect in my review of this item whether there was anything for the rebuilding.
John, which item are you talking about?
Number 1.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Thank you. And I could see that there was something for the rebuilding of the Dockmaster House in Montauk Park. And I haven't seen anything for grade crossing illumination, either Bethpage Stewart Avenue or Bethpage Hicksville South Oyster Bay Road, which are deadly locations. That is my comment, and I thank you very much. I couldn't seem to find it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Done. Okay, there be no further comment, all those in
I do have
favor?
one question on item 5, presiding officer, if you don't
I might have done that. I was trying to get like, to see what this thing is annoying.
Go ahead.
It's always like
I know. You got like, I feel like you can't see.
Thank you very much. I think you anticipated what the question was. It's something that actually came up in the committees. Did we have an answer on that?
Okay, I reviewed the file since our last meeting, and it was determined that the property being retained by the county does have street access, so that there's no need for any other access easements to the property being retained by the county.
I appreciate it, thank you. Thanks for checking into it.
Nick,
No other questions?
I need one and two.
Hold on, she's doing it.
I've been here, I've submitted sheets, and I was told I didn't have to put any specific ordinance since this was
Hold
the
on,
legislative
hold
process.
on, hold on. Is it on, no, hold on, I know.
Yes.
Now, listen, Miss.
I am trying to listen, but there needs to be some point of courtesy as well.
No,
I
I
am a
said.
tax-paying resident, and I do expect some, I would like to finish my sentence.
Hold on.
I would like
You
to finish
listen.
my sentence.
You need to listen. I did say, once we finish with the counter, I come back to public participation, and then you can come up.
But you opened it for public comment with regard to the
No, public
ordinances being
comment is not
discussed.
on right now, unless it's an item.
Yes, it is an item.
Okay, then if, it doesn't say that on your list, does it? Hold on, okay.
When I arrived here at 5 minutes to 1, I asked what was the procedure with regard to making comments with regard to the items listed, and I was told I didn't have to do that specifically. So I did have to sign it.
Listen to me.
I listened to you, presiding, but I would like you to
You're
listen to
talking
me.
about item 1 and 2.
I'm talking about item 1 and 2.
Fine, go right ahead.
Thank you.
Just make yourself clear and spell properly.
I've never made myself unclear.
I'm sorry, but sometimes I don't understand everybody. Go ahead.
That is Karen. With regard to the ordinance 1 and 2, well, it's unnecessary to be disrespectful. It's unnecessary to be disrespectful to myself and other taxpayers.
Miss Meredith, I
It
am
is
not being
unnecessary to be disrespectful,
to you.
and I'm on the 3 minutes.
Listen, I'm gonna give you your 3 minutes. You need to be clear as to what items you wanted to talk about. And if they're on the calendar, then you can speak about them now. But if it doesn't say that on your slip, I have no way of knowing. Okay? And it didn't say that on your slip. So now, your 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go.
We pay enough for these floors, I would like to be able to have my opportunity to
Let's go.
speak. My questions have to do with, as the young lady preceding me, it has to do with asking with regard to these performance appraisals and to have more detailed information for those of us who have to bear the burdens of the residents who are still living here, for those who don't leave in the middle of the night and end up with these zombie homes. So I need to have clarification with regard to what exactly this adoption process means in terms of my tax hit and who is being implicated. Does this include the projects that are going to be taking place with regard to the Coliseum, other infrastructure projects, things of that nature? Does it include outreach that will provide some real job opportunities for residents who live here? I need to know more specifics with regard to ordinance 1 and 2. And I also, again, from my own point of privilege, just the lack of disrespect to the taxpayers in this county is appalling. The fact that someone cannot come up here and get the answers and get the runaround and be abused and potentially intimidated, because I don't get intimidated. But this is the reason why people don't want to come here, jump in this meeting, and then leaving this county. Now, can someone answer my question? And I hope that I was very clear.
Honey, did you get the questions? No. Ms. Meredith, on the backup, there are specific items that are listed. And they don't include what you have brought to our attention.
So particularly with item 2, ordinance number 46-2015, authorizing $10 million of bonds to finance what expenditures?
Would you like to know the projects?
Yes.
Okay, one is for land acquisition, and I believe the real estate can tell you those. One is for NICE, and another one is for various county parks and ice rink modernizations. And another one is for the systematic review of the county assessment system. They total approximately $10,987,649.
So nice as in the nice buses?
That's right, yes.
Okay, so we're continuing to subsidize the buses that were supposed to save the taxpayers money, but in fact are costing taxpayers more money?
And we do, Ms. Meredith, we do. Okay?
Okay.
And this will help them to continue to give the fares that they give to the riders.
Okay,
What
and
else?
for parks, does that include cleaning up the toxic waste that's on the Brookside Preserve?
It's ice
and Baldwin?
parks, ice rinks.
The ice rinks.
And the modernization of the ice rinks.
So we're going to modernize the ice rinks, but we're not dealing with the toxic dumping that took place in the park in
Ms.
North
Meredith,
Baldwin.
there are other projects that have gone forward regarding the issue that you're raising. This particular item addresses the ice rinks and only the ice rinks.
Okay, and what are the other issues what are the other items that are addressing that? Because we haven't seen it, because I'm just curious I'm reading in Newsday about the bill to limit election mail that we're seem to be paying for. I'm just trying to find out where my tax dollars are going, because it's not benefiting me where I live. So if someone can answer that question.
Well, I don't know who can tell you about land acquisition to the tune of $2.8 million. I can tell you about the systematic review county assessment system to the tune of $700,000. And Ms. Menendez, would you want to speak about the land acquisition for Ms. Meredith? Is there anything you want to talk about? And by the way, this is not a one-shot deal. This is during the course of the year that this $2.8 million for land acquisition is going to be expended. So it's not a one-shot thing.
And who's monitoring the expenditures for that?
So we passed the 3 minutes, by
The
the way.
Department of Real Estate monitors that.
There's also the controller at night.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I'm guessing that the controller is going to monitor how they're getting paid since
I
we
will
already
tell you
have,
this,
since we already have one contract. I'm sorry, I was not finished, ma'am. Since we already have one contractor that's being reviewed by the controller's office for wage issues. I can't make this stuff up if it's already printed. This contractor was approved by this organization, and they were not paying a living wage to its workers. So I don't understand, again, when I'm asking about transparency and review of contracts that this body is approving, and at the end of the day, again, residents are not getting paid enough that they can make a living, let alone stay on Long Island.
Okay, let me say this to you. Once it leaves this body, it goes to another level, and that's the controller, who audits what's being done and whether or not it's being expended properly. Okay, and then we also have another entity that will monitor it as well. So it's not like, because we pass something, it's blindly accepted. All right, and then you have the other entity that certainly is going to scrutinize almost everything that we put through, and that's NYFA. So we're not doing this in a vacuum. So I hope I allayed your fears, but I don't know.
No, you haven't, because we have a lot of dust that's clogging the back that needs to get cleaned out.
You made it right, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the items that were called on the consent count signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the items pass unanimously. Now we're going to have to go to, all right. We're going to move to item 13, ordinance 57, and that is a supplemental appropriation to an annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Health, and a motion, please. I move by legislator Capel, seconded by legislator Schaefer. Now I'm going to ask, going to ask for an amendment in the nature of a substitution to this item. So moved by legislator Capel, seconded by legislator Capel. And the amendment corrects the total amount set forth in the resolution. And that's where the error, the typographical error was made. And so, any questions? All those in favor of the amendment, which corrects the dollar amount, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment passes unanimously. Now for item 13, as amended. Okay, now item 13 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. Now we have, I think I have another one. In fact, I think I have another two. Okay, item 27, is a resolution 78, authorizing the county executive to execute a grant agreement between the county of Nassau acting on behalf of the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Museums and Friends of Cedarmere, Inc. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Capel, seconded by legislator McKenzie. All right. Now, this also, I need to call an amendment in the nature of a substitution. And the amendment in the nature of a substitution calls for it changes the grant term to be consistent with the term provided in the attached contract. The term change from this agreement shall commence on April 1st, 2015 and terminate March 31st, 2015. Now, it should be the agreement commences on the 15th, April 15th, and it terminates on March 31st, 16. Okay, motion please to suspend, to amend. Moved by legislator Navarro, seconded by legislator Ford. All right, all those in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now for item 27, as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. And now we have one more item, I believe, that needs to, Go ahead.
Forgive me, it may be that I'm getting so old that my hearing is going, but perhaps if somebody would give me a copy of that when you get a chance, because I thought you said it was commencing on April 1st, 2015 and finishing March 15th on 2015.
And that's why we're amending it, because the end date is wrong. And so it's not March 31st, 2015, it's March 31st, 2016.
Okay, I misunderstood what I heard, and I thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Okay, you're welcome.
And may I ask that I get a copy of that agreement sometime from somebody from the clerk's office. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. move to item 19. We're going to need a motion to suspend the rules, and I think the reason for it is the timing of filing. All right, so a motion, please, to suspend the rules for item 19. Moved by legislator Walker, seconded by legislator Ford. Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now for item 19, the rules are now suspended. We can take 19, a resolution 70, a resolution requesting the legislature of the state of New York to enact and the governor to approve a local law amending local law 18, 1984, as last amended by local law 8, 2011, and local law 9, 2011, and as incorporated in Chapter 4 of Title 9 of the miscellaneous laws of Nassau County in relation to imposing additional rates of sales and compensating use taxes authorized by Section 1210 of the tax law and continuing a local government assistance program authorized by Section 1262E of the law. Motion. Moved by legislator Capel, seconded by legislator Dunn. Any questions regarding 19? Any public comments? There be none. All those in favor of 19 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes unanimously. We have item 3, ordinance 47, an ordinance providing for capital expenditure to finance the payment of certain payments by the county of Nassau to county employees used upon separation from employment, authorizing $35,199,757 of bonds of the county of Nassau to finance said expenditure, making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act pursuant to the local finance law of New York and the county government law of Nassau County. Motion.
So moved.
Moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Nicola. Okay, any questions, any comments?
If I may?
Yes, sir. I don't know who's, I may.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Bernard Alida, come on in, please.
Is if Mr. Chalmers from the Office of Legislative Budget Review can come forward.
Well, Chalmers, Budget Review.
How are you, Mr. Chalmers?
Very well, and yourself?
Good, good. I mean, if I'm understanding ordinance number 47-2015, this is basically to pay out the termination pay that the county has historically paid out every single year.
Correct.
And this is based off of how many people separated leaving the county?
I think we are projecting approximately 150 for the police department by itself, which should be approximately $33 million for police by itself. In addition to the police, we are expecting another $8 million in the general fund.
Okay. So we've bonded for termination pay in the past, plenty of times.
Yes, we have.
So when we have bonded in the past, have we exhausted all the funds?
I believe there are still funds available. There's approximately $4 million in capital project 9100 termination pay. And there was also some funds in the reserve, approximately $10.2 million.
So 10.2 plus $4 million.
Yes. The $4 million.
So there's hold on one second. So then basically there's $14 million that can be utilized for term pay.
No, there's 10.2 in the reserve that could be used for police termination. The $4 million, we would have to go back and see how much of the prepays are still outstanding, because part of the $4 million could be already accounted for in the prepays.
Okay. And is there a portion that NYPA hasn't approved that's still out there as well?
There's approximately $8 million, yes.
And I know this is not really a question for you, but what's the likelihood that NIFA would even approve this with all these other buckets out there? I mean, that's not a question for you per se, but.
I can't answer that question.
I understand. So if I understand this correctly, there's 10.2 million that's out there for police separations.
Correct, that's in the reserve fund.
There's 4 million that's out there that's associated with a capital bond project.
Correct.
And then there's 8.5 million that's out there. We don't know the source, but it's out there that NIFA just hasn't approved yet.
That's correct.
So logic would tell me that before we bond $35 million, wouldn't it make more sense to ask NIFA to approve the 8.5 and then see where we are?
That's a choice that this legislature would have to make.
True, very true. Okay. Well, I mean, to me, it just seems like there's a lot of buckets. Now, the other two buckets, the 4 million and the 10.2, have those been approved by NIFA?
The 10.2 is out there. It does not need NIFA approval. It has been sitting in the reserve fund. But I believe the $33 million, this $33 million is part of the budget process. It was, I guess, agreed upon as part of the 151, which was $60 million for tax shirts and $33 million for the termination pay.
All right. It just seems like basically there could be other sources for money at this time. Has the county made any expenditures in regards to term pay currently?
There has been expenditures made, yes.
And how much have we spent today?
I would have to go back and double check from the top of my head. I'm not sure.
Do you know how many people have left the county?
The police department, I believe there's approximately 80 people that are that have already put in their paperwork, so that's going to be a pretty significant hit for the county.
Of which they have the 10.2 to utilize. That doesn't have to go through NIFA.
Yes, I guess that would be a funding option if this body decided not to bond for the $30 million.
Okay, and they have the $4 million as well.
The $4 million is sitting in the capital project, but as I stated before, I'd have to go back and see how much of it is already accounted for, because here's what happens: some employees leave and they opt for 3 pays, and some employees might still have payment that have been bonded for that was still outstanding. So I would have to reconcile that $4 million. So
considering, Mr. Chalmers, that we have these different buckets out there, and then there's an additional bond for $35.2 million. Is the county going to use all these buckets, including the $35 million?
I believe the county is going to use approximately, I would say, just for police department, about between $32 to $33 million this year, in addition to approximately another $8 million in the general fund. So the county probably will spend between $40 and $43 million this year in termination pay.
40 and
approximately 40 to 42, yes.
Of which 10 plus
Correct.
4 plus 8.5, which gets you up to about 22, is already out there, right?
Yes.
So if I had to approximate, then in essence, this is like $13 million too high. What are we doing today?
Some bonding is going to be needed. Somebody at some level, we are going to need to bond some money, because what we have in reserve will probably not be sufficient.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chalmers.
You're welcome.
Let's set it up.
That's the point, not today.
Oh, you don't get off that easy. How are you?
Yeah, very well, Lisa.
Good. Good to see you here. So I'm just trying to understand. Is it a fact then that if we approve this 35 million, we're way over bonding for the money that we actually need or foreseeably need to use for this purpose of termination pay?
Some level of bonding will be needed.
Some level, but what I'm asking is, I'm just following up on the minority leader's questions. And if I understood correctly, there's quite a bit of money that's already been approved for termination pay, bonding to termination pay, has not been used and is available?
Correct. There's approximately 10.2 million that could be used in the EDF fund for police termination.
Or is it going to be used for anything else, or is it
It's specifically for the police department.
So then, in your opinion, is there any reason to approve 35 million?
Well, the part of the 35, I guess, was an agreement that this body made with the executive.
That's kind of not my question. My question is, if let's say it's foreseeable that you need 43 and you've got, I don't know, whatever it is available, 10 available?
Correct.
Oh, so could we safely subtract something from this? I'm just
That would be an option, yes, to use the 10.2 and then bond the remaining.
And is there any downside to doing it that way?
If you're using the reserve, it never looks good for the rating agencies because you're going into a reserve fund and using that.
Oh, but yeah, but I'm talking about the 10, no, the money that was approved strictly for this, it's not reserve fund.
No, the 10.2 is sitting in the reserve fund.
Okay.
One of you would like to speak on this?
Yes, Roseanne Valeva. I would just like to add to that this also is bonding for CSEA members, which we no longer have any bonding funds available. We've already expended this current year over $7 million in CSEA termination costs.
What's that dollar amount?
We've expended over $7 million just in CSEA.
And what will we need it now?
We need at least $9 million.
No, you're not listening.
If I may, Madam Zenoff, or they might not.
We're not needed.
And our estimations are all different. I mean, if we listen to the police terminations that we get daily from Commissioner Crumter, they might terminate as many as 200 officers this year. I mean, just on a projection of 150, I feel just in the police department alone, it'll be $42 million.
So if I understand this correctly, Mr. Love, there's $7 million the county has spent today out of the operating budget?
We do not have, yes, that's correct.
So we haven't, so basically, I guess at some point we would be looking for NYPA to reimburse that through bonding? Or approve a
Well,
bonding?
we only have
to reimburse
bonding
that?
authority, well, we have bonding authority for approximately $5 million, but this would give us authorization for, I'm sorry, we've exhausted our bonding authority for most of the CSEA, and this would give us additional bonding authority for the CSEA, in addition to the PD.
No. My question is, in regards to the $7 million that you said we expended already, that's currently, I guess, as of today, May 18th.
Current obligation, yes.
So what I'm asking is, would we be looking for NYPA to approve a bonding? Would we bond that?
Now, once something's expended and we don't have authorization for it, we can no longer go back to bond.
So we wouldn't go back to bond for that?
No, so approximately out of the current obligation that we have, the county's looking at paying about $4 million out of operating, $4 to $5 million.
So is it safe to say so the entire term pay number, which includes PD, CSEA, what's that total number?
For 2015?
Yes.
It's a projected number. I would say close to $50 million.
So that number is $50 million, right?
In total, I would say.
In total, that includes CSEA?
Approximately, I could get you better numbers.
No, approximate is fine. That number is $50 million, that includes CSEA, PD, everybody that works for the county. Here's some folks up here, right back.
Oh, I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting for
I wish
that
you nothing but the best friends.
No, I'm waiting for that big payout.
We also have to remember, we
$1,000 only from holding it back.
I'm sorry, Mr. Love.
we agreed with this body for the last VSEP that we would pay some folks out of operating. So some prepays out of operating are part of this.
Okay, so we went into 2015 with the understanding that we were going to pay some of the folks out of operating. So the total number is 50, of which we paid out 77 million already.
Well, I actually would like to clarify that. During the budget process, we had thought that this body would approve the bonding for all VSIPs, but in the conclusion, there was an agreement with this body that we would pay some out of operating, and at that point, it was too late in the game to change the adopted budget.
Gotcha. So we have 50 million approximate, 7 million of which has been paid out through the operating budget.
We have a lot more paid out, yes.
So, okay, so then 7 million has been paid out, maybe a little bit more. And then we have a bond proposal for us today of 35.2. So the difference between the 35.2 and the 43 is going to be made up through operating or the mechanisms that Mr. Chalmers mentioned in terms of these other previous.
A combination of both, yes.
So a combination of both.
Because the reserve fund is for multiple years. It's could be current year usage, or it's a reserve, and if possibly we have surpluses, we'd like to add more to the reserve fund.
But to keep in the reserve, because I understand the reserve is important in regards to with the rating agencies. I think Mr. Chalmers also, we identified 8.5 that NYFA has not approved. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Now, why would NYFA not approve any money for term pay? Did they cite anything to you, to the best of your knowledge? If they haven't, then that's fine too.
No, I think in future, if we show the need, that they will approve the remaining 8.5.
I'm sorry?
If we show the need, then we'll approve the remaining 8.5.
So basically, have we demonstrated the need? I mean, you guys are here with us today, so.
Mr. Norton, would you like to address?
Hi, good afternoon. One of the reasons that NYFA has cited for not approving in the past is their general feeling is that the county is able to fund it without borrowing. That is their preference. So because we did have surpluses in 2013 and 2014, they would not approve the additional financing. However, as far as demonstrating the need in 15, as you are well aware, with sales tax being below our estimate, we are showing signs that we do have a need to continue financing for this year. So I think that NYFA would probably approve something. What level, we won't know probably until later in the year.
You mean, when you say something, Mr. Norton, you mean something in regards to 8.5?
Correct.
Okay. So I mean, it just seems to me a little bewildering that we would be supporting or voting on today 35.2 when NYFA hasn't even approved the 8.5. Wouldn't they improve the 8.5, get you guys rolling so you're not paying out the 7 million that we paid out in operating, or even between that and the next couple of months? It just seems to me that we would want them to approve that first before this body would approve another 35.
Well, I think the way that we're looking at it is this year's budget and multi-year plan assumed this borrowing, and NYFA did approve the financial plan that includes the borrowing. So I think we're hopeful that they will approve it, that this legislative body does that, but we won't know that until this
body approves it. I think I look at it a different way. I look at it where I think NYFA has to approve it first. Approve the 8.5, that get utilized, and then we see where we are, and then we have to do 35 or 32 or 25. We'll have a better snapshot later in the year.
I see your point, but if the bonding authorization is not approved by this body, we can't float the cash flow in terms of the expenditures going out the door. Currently, there's $20 million of expenses for termination pays that has been covered in terms of bond authorization that has been approved by this body. If this body does not approve this bonding authorization, then we will not be able to front the expenditures for term pay for 2015.
Yeah, but you need that money all today. That's the part that I'm not grasping. The term pay is not all coming today, May 18th, is it?
No, what
Mr.
Numbers trying to state is that until this legislative body approves a bond ordinance, it's a hit on the operating budget. So
no, but Mr. Norton, it's not. You have $8.5 million that NYFA needs to approve.
No, but anything going forward, so if...
You mean after the 8.5 is spent?
But I mean, if 20 people leave the police department today and we have to make that payment, if there's no bond ordinance, that is a hit on the operating budget.
No.
I need to ask a question. No, come on. Where would you have to cut in order to make that possible?
We will clearly look at every possible discretionary expense that's available to us to make cuts. As you are well aware, we've already made a tremendous amount of cuts just to cover the speed camera program. So to have another hit with operating budget, we're starting to look at things that could impact operations, and that's something that no one wants.
When you say discretionary funding, what are we talking about?
I think we would look at, you could look at various contracts or just regular OTPS spending. I don't want to be specific to put fear in anyone, but clearly there's items out there that have been looked at before that we would probably have to look at again.
Mr. No, before I was interrupted, I'm just one second, Mr. Bell, before I was interrupted for, whatever that was. I just have to say that the bottom line is this legislature has gone down this path where if we choose not to support what the majority is looking to try to do in regards to bonding, then somehow, some way, in a subtle way, we're threatening youth board programs or Long Island bus or whatever may be the case. Oh, I'm sorry, nice bus in this case. So from that standpoint, we are just trying to get to the exact number, whatever that number is. I don't have a clear understanding that 35.2 million is warranted today, especially when I've heard the buckets from Independent Budget Review that are out there. What I would respectfully request is that we table the matter and basically devise a real number in the coming weeks for our June 1 meeting. Or if you want to come back sooner, that's fine too.
Just to clarify, there's currently $23.9 million of expenditures. There's 19.3 that has already left out the door. There's $4 million of pending PD alone officers that are terminating. Just so we're clear on the buckets, okay? We have 10.2 in the EBF, right? And we have $8 million left that's already been approved by this legislature. So we only have $18 million or so of funding available to fund $23.3 million of known terminations just in PD.
Mr. Phillips,
Therefore, anything above that, which is approximately $5 million, is already a hit on the 2015 budget.
Okay, I'm not disputing anything you just said. I appreciate you being very clear with that. What I'm saying is, I don't believe the number is 35.2 million that we need to do today, that we can't do in September.
Well, so
and
I appreciate that, but what I've just explained to you is that we do not have the funding to pay anything other than operating, because we already, just for PD alone, we're already basically offsetting it with operating by about $5 million.
So what's the number? Let's just get to the chase. What's the number? What's the real number?
So currently,
because obviously it's not
with the officers who are pending and resigned, it's $23.3 million just for the PD. What's available for just for the PD in funding is approximately $18 million. So we already have the operating budget.
How many are on the books resigned today?
We have 77 resigned, 16 are pending. That totals $23.3 million.
We're just doing the math. No, it's not it. Thank you. So 250,000 average times 77 separations would be 19,250,000. That sound about right? Or should we be using
Well, I can tell you what the actual is. It's 23.3. If we're thinking that 150 officers are going to be leaving, right, then I guess we would do the difference.
But again, Mr. Miller, you don't need that today, though, right?
We need the authorization today. We need the authorization.
What's leaving the county today, as we know of, is 77, not 150. Correct?
77 plus 16. 77 plus
77 plus 16. So we're saying 93. You just said 150.
We're anticipating at minimum,
Yes.
150
Yes,
leaving.
I totally get that. So when that anticipation comes closer to a reality, then you can come back to this legislature and get the rest. I'm not disputing the fact that you may need it. You just don't need it today. It's my point. You don't need the full amount today, do you?
From a business standpoint and for planning, especially in terms of the county's cash flows, it's very beneficial if we have that knowledge today. The rating agencies are looking to us to say that we have commitments from this legislative body. They want to know that you are fully supporting our county plan. So if you were to approve it today, that would send a strong message to everyone that we are working together as one body for the best of our citizens.
I understand. All right, well, I don't have anything further, Madam Design Officer. Thank you.
Any other comments? Legislative Deputy Presiding Officer, Nicolao.
So I'm sensing that the minority, at least the minority leader, wants to do this piecemeal. I'm just trying to figure out what the benefit is. I mean, we come back to the bond every month, figure out a number. Throughout the year or every 2 months. I'm not sure what the benefit is piecemeal. Let me ask you this. It's obviously taken some time to get $8 million through NYFA, but is there a detriment to going back to NYSA on a piecemeal basis? I mean, are there delays involved? Is it going to hit our operating budget?
Clearly, from my conversations with them, if we go to them with a small amount, they feel that if it's a small amount, then you should be able to cover that. A clear example of that was when we did workers' comp, when we asked for $1 million. They said, well, it's a large enough number, but it's too small of a number, so you should be able to come a way to accommodate that. So if we go back to them to say $8.5 million, they'll say, okay, we're looking at your financial reports, it looks like, oh, you should be able to absorb that. It's tough for us to get that approval. When we go to them with a package that makes sense, where we come to them to say, we need $35 million, here's the projections, here's what the police department is expecting for the balance of the year and why. That's something that they can comprehend and they can buy into.
And so there are also obviously, as with everything that goes to NYFA, delays built into the process. So if we do it piecemeal, then each piece there'll be delays engendered by each piece, correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And while those delays are pending, there's potentially budget hits, operating budget hits each time unless we have the sufficient authorization for bonding in place.
Correct. And clearly, I think the minority leader understands that we're not going to finance something unless we actually have an expense. So it's not like we can use this money for something else.
But I mean, from my perspective, the administration is laying out their case as to why they think they should do this in total at this time. And their projections seem to bear out the fact that these monies will eventually be needed throughout the course of this year to pay out for the termination. The minority wants to do it piecemeal, apparently. I don't speak for them. But if that's the case, I really don't understand what the benefit is and what their rationale is. But that's my position.
I mean, if I may clarify.
You may, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer. I mean, if I may clarify, the county's in flux. We don't know, sales tax is down by the tune of what, 30 million today, maybe more later. Everything's in flux. And the bottom line is we want to see how the county performs before we commit to $35.2 million. I think it would make more fiscal sense to see how the county goes, give the administration exactly what it needs today, and then we'll proceed as the county goes forward with its finances, which are not that great. So before we commit big dollar money, we want to make sure that we're getting the best benefit to it.
Any other comments? All right. There being none, I'm going to ask for a roll call on this item. This is item 3.
Deputy Presiding Officer Nicolello.
Yes.
Alternate Deputy Presiding Officer Capel.
Yes.
Legislator Bino.
Nay.
Legislator Solage.
Nay.
Legislator Ford.
Yes.
Legislator Curran.
No.
Legislator Becker.
Aye.
Legislator Mascarella.
Yes.
Legislator Birnbaum.
No.
Legislator DeReggie Whitten.
No.
Legislator Kennedy.
Yes.
Legislator Schaefer.
Yes.
Legislator Dunn.
Yes.
Legislator Jacobs.
No.
Legislator Walker.
Yes.
Legislator McKenzie.
Yes.
Legislator Rose.
Aye.
Minority Leader Abrahams.
No.
Presiding Officer Gonzalez.
Yes. Okay, the item fails 12-7. Okay, we shall move on. the next item is item 45, Resolution 96, a resolution to authorize the transfer of appropriations heretofore made within the budget for the year 2015. Motion, please. Moved by legislator Dunn, seconded by legislator Nicolao. Any questions, comments regarding to this item? And public comment? Legislator Curran.
Thank you. I understand that the administration put out a request for proposals. Oh. Yes, is there anyone here to speak to the item from the administration? No? Okay.
This is the budget office and control. Connie, I need someone either from the control's office or from the budget office to speak on this item.
45.
It's item 45, the budget transfer within the 2015.
Item 142.
Mike on,
142.
it's item 45.
This is clerk item 142-15?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is a board transfer for personnel from the controller's office to the budget office. We've hired someone to be the compliance officer in the budget office. And so the funding, because the person was budgeted originally in the 2015 budget in the controller's office, the transfer was initiated.
Okay.
I don't know why the controller's office wasn't here to speak about it.
As long as you're telling us what it's for. And if there's any other questions, we shall certainly address it to, I guess, the controller's office.
I have one.
Yes, legislator Curran.
Thank you. So, from what I understand, last year the administration put out a request for proposal, and I don't even know if you know about this, to work on compliance in the Office of Minority Affairs for MWBE compliance. And I'm wondering if this Chief Compliance Officer will sort of substitute, if we do no longer need those vendors now, if we won't be seeking their business.
Actually, he's hit the ground running in his capacity, and he is working diligently on our Title VI program and aiding the Office of Minority Affairs in to make sure in their effort for full compliance.
And he being Stephen Labriola?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Legislator Palatis.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I mean, if this office were to be doing his job in the first place, so why do we need him?
Sure.
I think clearly the county recognizes any chance we have to improve in compliance, we want to. So the controller worked with us, they provided the funding, a person to handle that, so we think this is a win-win situation.
But this is how much is it cost? This money could have gone to youth services, mental health services. If the office were doing their job, we wouldn't have the need for this.
No, that's not an accurate way to depict it. The person was employed in the controller's office. They were serving a role as a chief deputy controller. We agreed that there was a better use for the person in the working with the administration and compliance outside of minority affairs. We're looking at everything that the county does in terms of compliance.
Yes, but had the county been doing its job with compliance, we wouldn't need to transfer this individual.
The county has been doing its job. What we're saying
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Based on a report from the Office of Independent Budget Review, I don't see that.
I don't think the report said that. I don't think the report said the county is not in compliance. I don't know what you're reading into the report.
Thank you. What are his qualifications? What are his qualifications to do this job? Can you please explain that?
From his various experience of working with the town and as working in Albany, We feel that he's well qualified. We're talking about a person who has a master's degree in policy. He's been working for the Controller's Office for the last 2 years, reviewing contracts. The audit team reported to him, so he's more than qualified to handle compliance with Nassau County.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I have a question.
Legislator Bynum.
Thank you. Could you be a little more specific in exactly what his role is going to be in support of the Office of Minority Affairs, please?
We didn't say his role is in support of the Office of Minority Affairs. It is any place in the county that needs to have compliance looked at. So it's not just solely looking at minority affairs, it's also looking at how we do contracting and looking at all of the county's procedures.
Okay, so can you be specific to exactly what his role will be? And it's stated here that he's currently working in the Office of Minority Affairs. Can you tell me specifically what he's working on right now?
He is not working in the Office of Minority Affairs, he is assisting in compliance. He is paid for out of the Office of Management and Budget.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's my understanding that he's currently in the Office of Minority Affairs, assisting in some capacity. And I'd like to be a little more advised as to what exactly he's doing.
Sure. What we have been looking at the office to see areas where they can improve. So for instance, if you looked at the website for Minority Affairs, it has been updated. We've included the Title VI issues related to minority affairs. We've added the purchasing, a link to the purchasing department to make it easier for vendors to know what's happening in the county and to do business with the county. So we think
and that's a compliance role?
Well, if the idea is to improve and make sure that that the vendors are hitting their goals, yes, that is compliance. And I think the way we look at it is anytime you can apply fresh eyes to a situation, chances are you can make improvements.
So, the RFP that was issued before, last year sometime, will this consultant also provide the same services? I don't think we got a clear answer to that before.
I'm not aware of the RFP, so I don't know exactly what was laid out in it, but we'll be evaluating what additional needs there are for the department, but right now, we strongly feel that with Mr. Largill's assistance, every aspect of the county's business will be improved.
Because I guess we're questioning it because there was obviously an area of deficiency or need, and that's why the RFP was created and put out and set out last year. And to this point, there's been no action on it. But now we're hearing that this particular person has been put into that department to do some kind of compliance work, and the RFP was relative to compliance issues. So I'm just trying to tie the two together to see if the needs will be met by this person. And I think that was, Legislator Curran's question earlier, and we don't feel like we're getting the answer.
And again, I would say, I've not read that RFP. The county's not pursuing that RFP right now. So I would not try to put a linkage between the two items.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Legislator Salat.
Mr. Norton, before you said that there is no issues of compliance, and I'm reading into the record, let me ask you a question. When was the last disparity study done by the county?
It would have been probably roughly about 10 years ago.
What year was that then?
I'm not sure offhand.
2004. Okay, so okay. And are you aware of what the study at that point stated?
I have a great recollection from my days when I was in budget review, but I haven't read the report.
But how could you say that there is no issues of compliance if you can't even recall what the report said?
The report is not a compliance issue. A disparity study and compliance are two separate issues.
But a disparity study does show that there is a lack of compliance.
No, what a disparity study also shows is there opportunities out there for businesses, and are we not meeting those things? For instance, when you take a look at Long Island, the question becomes what is the percentage of minority vendors? And then you have to look at how much business does the county do? Without that study, you can't make that statement. So there may be.
But
maybe
that's
the study.
underneath the study, would you say?
But that's not compliance.
All right. Would you acknowledge that in 2014, the countywide spending on contracts totaled over 503 million, but only 1.2% of those contracts went to certified minority-owned businesses? Is that correct?
If you have the report, I don't have that report in front of me, so I'm not going to say I acknowledge whatever number that you're reading from.
And only 1.9 were awarded to certified women-owned businesses, according to OLVR.
Excuse me just for a moment, Caroline. Are we talking about the same item?
Yes.
I don't believe it is, but if you believe it is, but tell me how.
But it's related to the item because it involves compliance issues.
Hold on. It's not a compliance issue though. It's a transfer of monies to budget for this particular appointment.
To address compliance.
But that's not the issue. The issue here is to pay for the individual who is being put into this position. That's what the issue is. And I believe, is that the case, Mr. Norton?
Yes, ma'am.
But it's not just focusing on minority affairs, it's just, it's more exhaustive than that.
With all due respect, legislator, I think you're trying to link the two issues. The fact that we have the compliance officer trying to assist minority affairs is a good thing. And I don't know what the problem is in terms of having that compliance person help out. Because what we're saying is, you're reading the report, Mr. Labriola is not in charge of minority affairs. He's not the executive director for minority affairs. He is the county's compliance officer. The controller is providing funding for us to be able to pay for that. That is the issue before you today.
Legislator Curran.
You may not know the answer to this right now, but I would be curious to know if this appointment voids the RFP that was put out last year for compliance.
I'll be more than happy to get back to you on that issue.
Thank you so much.
Minority Leader Abrams.
What's the status of the RFP?
Again, I don't know. As far as I know, it's we're not pursuing it at this time.
We're not pursuing it.
I haven't seen it, and we haven't been talking about it lately, so I don't. As far as I know, we're not pursuing it at this time.
So, but it is, at this time, it's possible that Mr. Labriola can actually function in this role, and I'm not too sure how the administration is seeing this. I mean, are they seeing it that Mr. Labriola is going to be able to do the role, but he's got to get back to us on, but still his position is before us today?
Again,
or
since I've not
to be tied in with minority affairs.
Again, since I've not seen the RFP and read the outline of what was covered in that, I'm not going to say that he is substituting in that capacity. I can state, though, that as our compliance officer, we have asked him to assist in improving the operations in minority affairs.
I just think it might bode well, Mr. Norton, to have somebody who can speak to the RFP on the administration.
Why don't we do that the next time we meet? We can find out what's in that RFP. And we can.
Well, we should probably move the table because it's.
I'm not moving the table. I'm just, I will request a copy of that RFP. And wherever it is, we will need a copy of it to this body.
Move the question. Make a motion to table.
Move the question.
No, I can't move the question. Is there a motion to table?
Yes, motion to table.
Is there a second?
Comment.
Public comment.
Public
Okay. No debate, I'm sorry. They moved to debate. Legislator Salages moved to table, and Legislator DeRicci Whitten seconded that. All those in favor of tabling this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. So, the motion to table fails. Okay, now we have.
Question.
No, I can't move the question. Hold on. I have an individual who's giving me a slip on this item, Mr. Munitz.
Thank you. Luis Mendez, 36 Hart Lane, Westbury, New York. Although I respect Mr. Ed Norton, and he used to be a colleague of mine, I am an MWBE expert. That's what I do for a living. So I want to make a statement first, and I want to get to the core of this issue. Earlier today, and I've been here for 5 hours, Legislator Rhodes said that he was here to fight for equality, and he was here for the opportunity, for an equal opportunity for all the residents of Nassau County. I congratulate you, and I wish you good luck on that. 2 weeks ago, I came before you concerned about the county's MWBE program, and to complain about how the Committee on Minority Affairs has not had a hearing on any items for a long time. Legislator Rhodes, I believe that, and I understand that you are the chair of the Minority Affairs Committee?
That is correct.
So please take that challenge on. It's been a long time since a Minority Affairs hearing has taken place in the Minority Affairs Committee, and it is important, and it is part of the charter mandate for the Office of Minority Affairs. Legislator Dunn, who is my legislator, by the way, very proud of him, he also said that he will work, immediately recognize his Latino heritage, and stated that his district is very diverse, and it is, by the way, 42 languages in his district. And he was willing to ensure working to achieve and secure a clear understanding of the MWBE program, which I appreciated that comment. I said it emphatically. Legislator Solanges then introduced for public record a report generated by a request to the Office of Legislative Budget Review by Legislator Coran. I have read that report, and I am deeply concerned about its alarming findings, which probably requires, actually not probably, definitely requires an in-depth look at the compliance process in the Office of Minority Affairs. Hopefully by now you all had the opportunity to read that report, and I would like to know if that is the case. But to my point pertaining to what's in front of you today, which is item 45, there's over $350 million that have been approved by this body and have been given out to contracts by the administration. What is the MWBE participation status on that money? And that is Sandy money, by the way. Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 is actually going out. I have a question. Shouldn't there be a hearing pertaining to this transfer in the Minority Affairs Committee? There should be a hearing about this if it impacts the Minority Affairs Office. And finally, regarding the appointment of Mr. Labriola, who I don't know, and I'm sure that the administration found him to be very qualified, but I want to give you the parameters of qualification as far as MWBE compliance and MWBE process. The minimal experience needed is someone needs to oversee and understand the rules of MWBE, both federal, state, and local. It also needs to understand and have experience on compliance, including outreach compliance, utilization plan submittal, and approval of that same utilization plan, MWBE certification, both local and state. Currently, Nassau County is not recognized by any state jurisdiction pertaining to our certification process. Therefore, we might not be able to qualify on mandates from the state or the federal. Therefore, we might be impacting our own reimbursement process. And finally, most importantly to me, is does the person have the affinity and sensitivity to understand the needs and challenges of the protected categories? I think that's important for Legislator Dunn, for Legislator Rhodes, and for all the minority legislators that are sitting in the Minority Affairs Committee. I believe also Legislator Walker is part of that process. I beg you to please take a look at this deeply. They are not experts on this. We are. I'm a minority guy. I look Latino every day. And therefore, it impacts me on a daily basis. I can't change that even if I change my last name. So I beg you to please take this seriously. That report, and in addition to this move, tells you that something is up. And this body is the ultimately responsible body for that, for my opportunity, and the opportunities of those who look like me, and those of you who look like many of you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
Presiding officer.
I'd like to move on, please.
Presiding officer, may we please have Mr. Labriola come here to discuss if he
Right now,
has
no.
qualifications?
Right now, no.
Is he available? Is he available?
This is not about his qualifications. it's
So
about
we should not fund this position unless he can
Well,
show
that's
us
your
that he
choice.
meets his qualifications.
That's your choice.
That's our choice, together, we're working here together. That's
I'm
our
going to
choice.
call the question. I'm sorry, Ms.
We
Berry.
don't even have a resume. Presiding officer, let's have some diligence here, please.
Meta J. Maraday, 758 Wesley Street in Baldwin, and yes, it does pertain to this issue. I think it pretty much is the same issue. As Mr. Mendez previously, and I too am experienced in compliance, and my issue incorporates not just minority and women, but also again, veterans, local businesses, LGBT community. We don't know specifically the requirements. My question, first of all, would be, who in fact is this gentleman related to? We've asked questions about contractors and what relationships they've had, who's lobbied for them. Who in the administration is this person related to? Is he related to a contractor? Is he related to a high executive employee of this county? These are the questions that we need to know, and basically, what affiliations does he have? What training does he have? Is he a part of the supply management organizations? Does he know anything about supply chain? What does he know about diversity and inclusion and the rules pertaining to that? It's not just about Title VI. It's not just about minorities and women. So if he doesn't understand that, you're opening yourselves, and more importantly, you're opening us, the taxpayers, to additional lawsuits for those of us who are in the community who do understand the importance of compliance, and they know exactly what it means, particularly when we're dealing with federal and state funding. So if you want another set of lawsuits, I know we pay a lot of attorneys a lot of money, but if we started looking at things proactively as opposed to reactively, we could save the taxpayers a lot of money. And as the gentleman previously said, the 4 + 5 hours that it takes to be here. If you're doing the work beforehand, as you keep saying that you review all of this before it comes to the table, we wouldn't have this issue. But clearly, the work is not being done behind the scenes. So the time needs to be taken now for our voices to be heard and for the information to be clear. And if it's not clear, why not table it? Why not table it?
We don't even have a resume. Ridiculous.
I'm not going to comment on that, Carrie. It has nothing to do with his resume, it's a budget transfer. Okay? Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Okay, there'll be no other discussion, all those in favor of item 45, resolution 5096, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the item passes 12-7. Okay, now I'm going to ask for a brief recess. I believe that was requested because we have some emergency items. Is that clear? Has it been requested? By the minority.
Yes.
I'll give you 5 minutes.
Yes, Madam Presiding Officer, these emergencies came to us, I believe, this morning or during this meeting. We haven't had a chance to discuss them with the caucus. We just wanted to take 5 minutes to do so.
You have, hold on, it's now 4:15, about 4:20, 4:30 the latest, okay?
Thank
That last item, whatever it was, 96, resolution 96, it was 13-6. Legislative current voted for.
Somebody's got to keep pressure. Continuare. Thank you.
I look forward to working with you. Norma? Norma? Take care. Yes.
Well, you're a big shot. I'll tell you why. You're a big shot.
Whatever you need.
Not now. Not now.
Okay, I know.
I know you a long time.
I know. I know.
Luis.
Yes, Francis. How you been? How are you?